Welcome to a special edition of the Wrestling Dorks. I am John, joined as always to my left by this guy, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm this guy now?
You're just this guy. I'm not going to insult you.
Well, I appreciate that. I like that about the special edition.
This is a special edition because we happen to have on our phone today Nick Cutler, independent wrestler out of Chicago. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. I was glad you reached out, and we're always happy to have some guests on to hear some kind of inside knowledge on the business, hear about you and
Sure.
and everything. So, I mean, tell us about you. For those who don't know about you, tell how long you've been in the business and what got you into it.
I started training to wrestle in 2006 with Steve Boz out of Windy City Wrestling in Chicago, Illinois. For those of you that don't know, Windy City was like a staple in the 90s for Chicagoland fans. Produced the majority of the talent that came out of Chicago went through Windy City Wrestling. They did TV and such back in the day. When I started training there, the promotion had already shut down. They were just doing the school, and it was kind of in the transition from being Windy City Wrestling and to what is now known as Chicago-style wrestling. But I was trained by Steve Boz and made my professional debut in September of 2007. And since then, I've been on the independent circuit, traveling usually every weekend out of the year, multiple times. Other training I've had, I've done multiple other training situations, Ring of Honor, Harley Race, Evolve, Steve Carino. My training goes on and on and on and on and on. I never hesitate to invest in furthering my career with more training, especially when it's from a reputable source. Usually I'm on the independent circuit. I have worked for WWE. I was actually on Monday Night Raw in September of last year. So I do have national exposure, both on TV. So going from there, obviously the long-term goal is to work for WWE. In the meantime, just working on creating a reputation for myself on the independents, which I've already done. But I want to do it on a higher level. I'm one of the best-known workers in this area, but I want to transition that from being one of the best-known workers in the area to one of the best-known workers on this side of the country and then on that side of the country and so on and so forth.
So you were talking a little bit about, being known as a good worker. How would you describe your style, and maybe who are some of the wrestlers growing up that influenced you?
My idol who has influenced me most, I would have to say, is Bret Hart. I always thought that his style was the most believable, but still a really good show. A lot of people, you ask guys that came up in my time in the late 90s, and usually when people will say who their favorite wrestler was, it was either Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels. I really do like Shawn Michaels, but I always thought that Shawn Michaels kind of took things over the top, which is cool if you like that kind of thing. But I was always more of a believability worker. I like things obviously, you have to suspend your disbelief in professional wrestling. Obviously, I can't grab somebody by their wrist and make them run across the ring and hit the other side of the ropes and come back to me. So your suspension of disbelief has to be there, but you can still try to make it as real as possible. That way you don't pay attention to those other little things. And Michaels kind of took it over the top at points, in my opinion, so I was always more of a Bret Hart guy. So he was a huge influence on me. Dynamite Kid, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. I'm a smaller guy. I'm only 5'9", so the small working class wrestlers who were just built like brick houses and could get in the ring and go were huge influences for me. Another one is Chris Jericho, because he was a smaller guy and could go, but unlike, Dynamite Kid and Chris Benoit, he also had ridiculous charisma. So I think he is actually probably one of the best combinations of showmanship and work rate that you'll find in the past 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I was watching this about Benoit because I was watching one of your matches and I watched you tap a guy out with the crossface, and I thought like, wow, this guy's like a bruiser, like a hard hitter, and he does his submissions like Benoit. So that's pretty cool that you said that.
Yeah, I have. When I did my training with Steve Carino in 2007 and 2008, I did a few seminars with him, and he always told me that the way that I move in the ring and the way that I conduct myself reminded him a lot of Benoit, and I always liked that. And then, of course, there was the whole situation with him and his wife and kids. So, but if you go back and you watch a lot of Dynamite Kid, I mean, Dynamite Kid was one of Chris Benoit's idols growing up. He liked to simulate a lot of the stuff that Dynamite did. So now I just tell people, instead of using the name Benoit, since I don't really know how people will react to hearing the name, I just tell them I fashioned myself after like a Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, it's rough because, I mean, what he did in ring and out of ring really shouldn't, be coming together. It's kind of like the guy in the news today, O.J. Simpson. I mean, incredible running back, but outside, most likely, allegedly, people. So.
Most likely, nice. I like that.
I was gonna say probably murdered his wife and whoever the other guy was.
I don't want if was listening to sue us.
Yeah, funny. I was at work today, and this guy, we were like, "What thoughts on this? He's 70. What harm can he do? He could kill people. That's what he could do." Anyways.
Yeah, it's. I really hope that that at 70 years old, OJ just takes his $25,000 a month pension that he gets from the NFL and just goes to the golf course and minds his own business.
Yes.
It's weird. I watched a 7-part documentary on OJ. Well, it was actually 3 parts on Hulu, but when it was on TV, it was 7 parts. But I watched it in 3. But one of the things that they discuss about him is his ability to make people like him regardless of what he does. And it really is true. Like, just watching this documentary and seeing the way that he would conduct himself, like on videos and such, I didn't want to believe that he murdered his wife. Like, I wanted to like him. I'm like, I don't want to believe that this guy did this, even though I'm fairly certain he did. He just seems so damn cool and so nice. I don't want to believe that he did it. It's manipulative. It really is.
Yeah. He's a good pro wrestler.
He was great today at the parole hearing I watched, and he was as personal as ever. He got a great face.
Yeah, it's I did a lot of research into the murder case a few months ago, just because I dove through kicks where I'll watch documentaries and then I want to find out everything I can on the matter. And I still, it just still seems fishy to me, whether he did it or not. I certainly don't think he is innocent at all. I definitely think that at the very, very least, he had foreknowledge that it was going to happen and may have actually been there when it went down. But I don't know that a 46-year-old arthritic football player could have taken down a younger man in his prime and his wife simultaneously at the same time.
That's true.
So I definitely think there's probably more to it than everybody is willing to agree. Everybody's just so quick to jump to the OJ did it. Look at all the evidence. Well, the evidence suggests that he had something to do with it. No doubt about it. But it doesn't necessarily say that he was the one that committed the actual murder. So, but that's kind of off topic now that we've got it.
just a little bit. That's awesome. So, I asked, you said about Raw earlier. What is it like on? I mean, that had to be awesome in Chicago too. Like that was like.
It actually wasn't in Chicago.
I thought it was.
And it was in Cincinnati. I was doing a 3-day loop with them for, it was Night of Champions, and then I did Raw and SmackDown the following 2 nights.
Oh,
I'm brain farting on where Indianapolis was where Night of Champions was. That's right. And then I was in Cincinnati the next night for Raw, and then SmackDown was in Cleveland. And the pay-per-view, we were just there. Raw was when I actually did the the match with Cesaro and Sheamus.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
you
I
actually
think
don't.
like that's your goal,
I did
but
not
like,
notice. I didn't notice as much as I thought I would all of the people. Once you're in the ring, you kind of just go into a zone where you're focusing what needs to be done. So I remember walking out, I kind of looked around and was in awe for maybe, a span of 20 or 30 seconds. Then once I actually got into the ring, I was just too focused on wanting to do a good job. So I wasn't really letting the nerves and the jitters get to me. So.
and like, what's it like when you get that call that you need to be doing it? Like, I bet that's almost more nerve wracking than actually doing it on its own.
Well, I had actually been booked with them prior. I just hadn't ever done anything on TV.
Okay.
Wrestling-wise, anyways, I'd done, security gigs and stuff like that. That was actually my fourth
Oh, wow.
time working for them, I'm wanting to say. So,
Okay.
and I didn't find out that I was working on Raw until that day. They had actually, when we got to the arena, they had told all of the extras to get in their gear because they needed a couple of people to tag against Cesaro and Sheamus. And we stood, that was at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock. And bear in mind, I don't watch hockey, but I know that whatever hockey team is based out of Cincinnati, when they have Raw, it's in their arena. So it's literally on top of like an ice rink. So it's very, very cold down on the floor. And so we were all standing ringside for about 3 hours in our gear, freezing our buns off. And finally, someone came and was like, okay, let's do, and then he pointed at me and the guy that ended up being my partner that night. So I had really no prep time to mentally prepare because I didn't know I was going to do it till right before everything was getting ready to get started. So,
What's it like to be in the ring with? You got Cesaro, can pretty much do it all in the ring, and then a huge guy as well as Sheamus, and that is just looks brutal in the ring in terms of everything he does looks pretty stiff.
Yeah. I try not to get starstruck.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that if you want to be somewhere, you need to believe in your mind, regardless of whether you actually are, you need to believe that you're just as good as the people that you're in the ring with. Because if you don't believe that in your mind, then you're never going to be as good as the people that you're in the ring with. And so when I got into the ring, I'm just like, I belong here. I should be in here with you, and I should be in here with Sheamus because I deserve to work here, obviously. And I went in there with that mindset, and I continue to have that mindset regardless of who I'm working with, even when I'm in the ring with names on the independents. I don't get flustered. I talk to them like I would talk to Joe Schmo, who's been working for 2 years, because I want them to believe that I'm on that level. And so I need to believe that I'm on that level. I'll say that Cesaro is freakishly strong. I don't know if you've watched the match, but he picked me up for a vertical suplex, and I didn't jump at all. So he pretty much deadlifted me up into the air, like in the blink of an eye. So, and Sheamus, yeah, just like you had said, brutal. He's definitely a brute. So.
That's really awesome. I did go back and watch the match. First of all, it's cool that no matter what, if you make it, you're always going to be on the network. Like that's the coolest to me. That's what I want. I would want to be on the network someday. You know what I mean? There, and I got to watch your match. So to me, although I didn't realize Cincinnati and Chicago apparently are different cities, I'm a moron. So it was cool to go back and watch. And I saw Cesaro holding you up, and I was like, I wonder what's going through, like when you're up in the air like that, and essentially millions watching on Raw, like, oh my God, on TV and down in front of all these people, you know?
Yeah, and it's not even just like the millions of people watching on Raw. Like in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, because everybody always there's a saying when you're in WWE that the hard cam is always on. They call it Vince's eye because someone is always sitting in the back watching what's going on in the ring. And so I'm not even thinking of the millions of people that are watching on TV and the thousands of people that are watching in the arena. I'm thinking who is sitting in gorilla position right now watching what's going on. That's what I'm thinking of. Because what I want is to walk through the curtain and be told that I did a good job and that I'm going to be brought back and that they're interested and so on and so forth. So that's what I was thinking of, is who's in the back watching this right now. As far as being on the network, yeah, that is pretty trippy. And the fact that, you type my name into YouTube and the first thing that pops up is a match from Raw. If I'm honest with myself, I can honestly say, okay, cool, I wrestled on Raw. That's something that nobody can take away from me. There's thousands of people who are workers that, regardless of how talented they are, either haven't wrestled on Raw yet or they've come and gone and they're never going to get to wrestle on Raw. And that's something that I can say that I did. But the worker in me, the perfectionist in me is like, okay, yeah, but now I need to go back. Like, I did this, but now I need to do this. Like, I'm not satisfied with just stopping right there. And, family and friends. And so Mike Busey, Simon Dean, is a good friend of mine. And I was talking to him about it one day. And I had said something about how I needed to make it. And he's just like, you need to understand that you already made it. Even if you don't go to WWE, you've already accomplished more in your career than a lot of other people can say that they have. So you need to look at it as a success. And I understand what he's saying, and I know that that's how I should look at things, and that my life would be a lot less stressful if I could look at things that way. But the perfectionist in me won't let me look at things that way because I don't ever want to be satisfied. So.
Right. It's crazy.
Who do you think, who have you had some of the best matches with? Would you
say that one more time?
Who had some of your best matches with? Like, what were some of your best matches?
I just recently wrestled Sean DeVary in Fort Wayne, Indiana for Wrestling for Warriors. And I really enjoyed that match. I haven't watched it back on tape yet. I don't have a copy of it yet. But being in the ring and just going through the paces, I was just thinking in my head, like, this looks really good. This has to look really good. And the reaction that we were getting from the crowd was really, really good. And there was a cameo at the end from Santino Marella coming in and doing the Cobra. So it was just a fun match. It was with a damn good professional. It was in front of a good crowd. So that's probably one of my favorite matches. I also, it was 8 years ago, right before Tyler Black got signed to WWE, I wrestled him in one of his last matches on the independent circuit. And it's one of my favorite matches because it was in a little podunk city in Iowa in front of maybe 12 or 13 people. It was absolutely terrible. And I remember I brought someone with me to videotape it because I wanted the match for, sharing it for trying to get work and such. Because just like at the time, Tyler Black was a big name in Ring of Honor, and I was only 2 years into the business, so I was just like, I'm going to have a good match with this guy, and I'm going to get work with this match footage. And so when we got there and I saw how few people were there, I told the guy that was recording, I'm just like, do not, just stay on a close-up of the ring. Don't pan out to the crowd. And he actually does a really good job of not going to the crowd. I know at one point Black went to the top rope and I pushed him off down onto the floor, so he kind of panned out to the crowd then, so you saw how few people were out there. But if you didn't know that there was only 13 people there and you watch the match on YouTube and you just pay attention to what's going on in the ring, you would think that there's 150, 200 people in there, because when we worked, we made those 13 people get so loud and so into the match that they sounded like 150, 200 people. And I was always very proud of that. And my performance, being only 2 years in and being in there and hanging with a guy who at that point was one of the best workers on the independents, and now he's one of the best workers in the world. So,
yeah, you wonder how many people that watch Raw and WWE every don't realize at one point that somebody like, Collins was wrestling in front of 13 people.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you like that perspective.
Yeah, go back and if you guys have time, go back and watch that match. Just look up Nick Cutler and Tyler Black on YouTube. I'm very proud of the work that me and him put in that night.
So while we've got you here, I mean, do you have any coming up, anywhere that we can catch you, or anything you want to promote while you're here?
The next few, I was gonna say the next few weeks I'm pretty local, but then I remembered I'm not because I'm in Jersey the first week of August. I'll be this Saturday. I'll be in Peru, Indiana, for a promotion called CHRW, and that very same day, I'm going to be driving back to Chebans, Illinois, and performing that night for Southland Championship Wrestling. On July 29th, I'll be in Villa Park, Illinois, for Fusion Wrestling. I'm going to be working for Monster Factory again in Jersey on August 5th, and then August 11th, CSW in Chicago. August 19th, FWF in Warsaw, Indiana. August 26th, Southland Championship Wrestling in Chebans, Illinois. So a lot of my regular promotions that I work for every month. And then, Monster Factory, I go over there every few months just because, Danny Cage is a great reference to have, and he's done a lot to help me, even though I'm not one of his actual paying students. So whenever I can come over there and help out with their shows, I definitely do that. So
that's all. Sounds like a packed schedule.
It's a double header. Yeah, that's crazy. That's you're gonna be exhausted. Are you yourself, or are you gonna try in between? I gotta know. I don't know why I'm interested.
Say that one more time.
So when you have those two matches day coming up, like having yourself, or are you gonna try to like in between? That sounds crazy to me.
So the first show is in a place that is on Eastern time, and so it starts at 6:00. And so I'm going to be the first match at that place. And then the second show is on Central Time, and it's a 2-hour drive. So I'll actually end up getting back to where I need to be for the second show at around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So pretty much right after intermission would be. And I'm going on in the second half of that show. So.
Holy girl. I mean, that's crazy.
And the schedule's pretty packed. I'm actually booked every weekend between now and December 16th.
I mean, hey, that's a good thing. Obviously, you're in demand. I was looking on Cage, and you definitely have been keeping a pretty solid schedule the last few years. So it's obviously in demand at this point.
Yes. Yeah, I do stay busy. Right now, I'm just working on getting into more notable places. It's difficult. I always tell people that I love being a professional wrestler. I love professional wrestling, but I hate the professional wrestling business because it's just so weird and a lot of things about it don't make sense. You get told by, say, WWE, hey, you're in line for a tryout, but in the meantime, we want you to make a name for yourself someplace else. And so, okay, so you think Ring of Honor or Evolve or one of those other places that are like a next level independent that actually have TV deals and that people pay attention to. And you say, okay, well, then I need to get into one of these places. And so you go to those places and they say, oh, you got great work and you got a great look, but you need to create more of a buzz around you and create a demand by the people to want to see you in these promotions. So why don't you try going elsewhere? And then you go to those promotions that you need to create a buzz, and they don't want to use you because you don't have a buzz. So it's just like one big, giant, vicious circle where it's just a never-ending screw job in your own mind. And it takes a lot of mental toughness to not crack. And I'll be the first to admit that I have on quite a few occasions. But it's when I think of the alternative of just quitting, that's really what gets me through those stages where I crack. It's either I deal with the BS and one day hopefully it pays off, or I quit and I won't quit. So
yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, I think that you have the look. I've watched like 4 of your matches. There was a Tyler Black match in there. I'm gonna go back and watch that. But definitely you have the work ability. So obviously, because I want you to make it.
Yeah.
It's like the way you talk. I mean, as I say, but a wrestling business, it's kind of like a lot of things in the work world where you go into your whatever and you keep thinking like, oh, I'm going to get this big break, I'm going to get this break, and then they look at your resume, you don't have on there an experience. Well, that's because nobody's been willing to, you know what I mean?
Exactly. They want
like,
you to have 6 months of experience for an entry-level position. And it's just like, I can't get this experience until somebody wants to take a chance on me. And, there have been places that have taken chances on me, and I'm never going to get those places for when I do make it. And then there's places that haven't. So all I can really do is focus on the ones that do take the chance on me and move on from the ones that don't.
Looks like you're kicking it where you go from. I mean, everything online it looked like you're a champion for 100 days of Fusion. So you must be doing something right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, Nick, thanks for joining us this week. Definitely get this interview. We will check out Nick at Coalition. Anywhere we can find you then, Nick?
Yes, you can, find me on Facebook. I'm probably the only Nick Cutler on there that's got a display picture of himself in spandex and a hairy chest. As you mentioned, on Twitter at Cutler Coalition, and my Instagram is Cutler Coalition 88.
Okay, and guys, check out that match with him again. Then Tyler Black, now Seth Rollins. It is on YouTube. It's easy to find. It's the first one comes up.
Yes. Yeah,
too. It's
out.
a cool watch. All right. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Sir, good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, guys.
So there he was. There was our big interview with Nick Cutler, independent wrestler out of Chicago. Sam, how do you feel that went?
Good. I like him. He seems like a real down-to-earth guy.
He really does.
And it was cool, like at the end there when you guys will listen to it, and kind of said about how I could feel how he felt about wrestling sometimes, just an everyday normal job too.
Yeah.
You forget these guys that are fighting and clawing their way up to the top. Like, it's just like us out there with regular jobs,
Yeah, I mean, how many times did we say at our previous life, like, how the hell am I going to get management experience if they don't give me a chance to be a manager? Like, it just makes no sense. And like he says, WWE doesn't want you unless you have experience doing this, and then they don't want you unless you have experience. And it's like chicken or the egg. Like, it's impossible. Like, but you feel his frustration. And honest to God, I'm not saying it because I just interviewed the guy. I went back and watched his matches, and he's really damn good. I mean, he's a short, small guy as far as the wrestling
world.
But
a lot of the guys that you aren't that big. You know what I mean? If you think about it, like, it's hard to tell their size because they're booked at all these different sizes. But 5'9". I mean, he said he was 5'9". He's 5'9". He's bigger than Eddie Guerrero was. Although Eddie then got the juice going and was like 5'7", like 220 pounds of ripped muscle. But
it's crazy to me, like how. And I wanted to say it during the interview, but I didn't. It didn't come up because I didn't want to interrupt him. But like, he could totally be in the Revival. Like, his style and his look. Like, I know that seems weird, but
I was thinking when I first saw him, I think Arn Anderson.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe it's because the body hair.
It's the body hair.
And I love the body hair, by the way. Nick, if you're going to probably listen back to this interview. As a man with body hair myself, I love that you rock it.
No, it is pretty awesome. But honestly, like that bruising style, but also throws in the technical aspect. It's not... Yeah. It absolutely reminds me of he could be the third man in the Revival. You know what I mean? It's just like that whole look thing. So it's awesome. I really enjoyed interviewing him. I'm hoping that he's becomes a friend of the show and this brings him the opportunity he needs. This opens the door.
He's a busy man.
He is a busy man. Working a doubleheader? Yeah. God damn, that's crazy.
So we got Vince listens to the show. I don't know if he knows that or not, but
we should have told him. we mean Vince Wilson down the street, our neighbor. But yeah, no, I mean, I really do wish him the best. And Nick, I'm sure you're listening. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Anything else to add, Sam?
No, that's all I have.
All right, guys, thanks for listening to the Wrestling Dorks, and we'll catch you next time.